If everyone could take their seats, our panelists are going to be coming out.
Check. Check. Check.
Here's the mics, they're all on, actually.
They're all on?
Careful right now.
Okay,
If
Hilary.
you drop one, people are not going to be happy.
Okay. Okay, I'll do this. Okay, yeah. It's on. No, this guy. Testing. After I was saying be careful and stuff, I
saw her in the back somewhere.
Okay. Take a selfie before we get started. Yeah, I think we should.
Who has the long phone?
Yeah, let's take a selfie.
Oh wait, my camera's all messed up. Where's your camera?
Right here.
Hillary, you're going to have to be the guy.
Yep. Be back in a few minutes.
Okay. Oh, that way.
All right. I know Jada. Are you? Yeah. I was saying it reminds
Get
me
in here.
of Beyonce when she has the two braids in that big hat. Have you ever seen that photo? She's like in the Louvre or something. I'm like, Jada's just big.
Hey, I just want to make it oh, never mind, I found her.
I don't know where to put it. On my pocket? Between my legs? On my bra? Warm it up? Warm it up? No, if that is the offer it up. Man.
Let's start.
I need Gabby to come sit down. Yeah. There's supposed to be two more people.
Attention, Gabby.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. My Métis sister.
I'm so full.
How did I notice that? You know what? That's my interior design alternative self coming through. Yep.
One.
I know you have something stuck in your hand. Oh, give this to you. Okay, I'll give that. Okay.
Do you want part of this table? Like to put your stuff on? Okay.
Okay, so good afternoon and thank you all for being here. Today I'm going to introduce you to I'm not going to, but we have a panel here that are a group of really amazing people. They are leaders in their communities. They're making a real difference in the lives of a lot of people, and they're an inspiration to a lot of youth. For those of you guys just tuning in now, we do have different outlets that you can follow us on. So we are live streamed on YouTube, and then you can also follow us on our ARC page, which is Humber_ARC, if you'd like to ask any questions or keep updated with IKG there. So again, if for the people who weren't here this morning, or if you're just tuning in, I'm going to briefly go over our theme for this year, which is wellness and balance. So in many Indigenous cultures, health and wellness is defined as a balance between the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental spheres of oneself. Like ripples radiating across the surface of a pond, wellness diffuses out in all our relations, both human and other than human, impacting the health and wellness of our entire ecosystem. The stronger the ripple, the stronger the relationship. At the same time, a breakdown of one or more spheres of health, whether physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, destabilizes all our relations. Please welcome my co-MC, who will be our moderator for this afternoon, Quezon Spuzno, who's joined by former varsity athletes, a holistic nutritionist, traditional dancers, and all-around community leaders making a difference.
Woo!
Miigwech Caitlin, and I just want to say hi to everybody who's live streaming right now. Anybody who's from Garden River, I say what up to you all. But yes, I am so happy to be here with my wellness starting five. That's what we have up here. My name is Kozan Spuzino, and I work here at the college. Before my time here, I did go to Algoma University, and I played varsity basketball there for 5 years with one of my friends, Mikwan, and I'll let her introduce herself now.
Wacheg Misaway, everyone. Mikwan Tulpan Indigenous from Fort Albany First Nation, and I like to say that I'm a proud Ontarian of Mushkegowuk Cree and Belgian descent. I currently work at the Indigenous Sport and Wellness Ontario, which is a provincial territorial Aboriginal sport body for the province. And I too went and attended Algoma University, played varsity basketball, but since then I actually got more immersed in the sport of lacrosse, which has been an incredible journey for me because I not only play women's field lacrosse at an international level at different opportunities, but also the growing history and growth of the game for women's box lacrosse. And my background as a participant, not only as an athlete in basketball for the North American Indigenous Games, but I also took on roles in sport management and coaching as well that continues today. Miigwech.
Wow, that's awesome. Danse Tawao, Bini John Nasigason. I come from Kihuan Cree Nation. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bini John. I come from Kihuan Cree Nation. I'm Plains Cree and Taino. And I'm coming to you as a hoop dancer. I've been hoop dancing since I was 9 years old. I teach it all across Canada and the United States. And hoop dancing is my medicine and my window to wellness. And hi, and I'm so happy to be here.
Anin, Bojo, Nongo Swasko Nekwe, Nindijnakas, Mashike Dodem, Nishinabe Kwe Nandao, Shawanago First Nations Nundunjaba. Hello, my name's Alex. I'm the holistic nutritionist on your panel, among other things, but I am First Nations Ojibwe and Guyanese, and so I'm here to share my perspectives on health and wellness from a holistic standpoint. So I hope that you guys enjoy.
Ani Bojo, Kinwea, Ninigasang Dijnakas, Hilary, Nda Jaganashin Noswin, Makwa Dodem, Wigwas Kinaga Donjaba, Toronto Dinda, Megwanda Kinamagegwas, Georgian College, Nishnabemwin, Mima Program Development, Jinakade, Asia Kinamagegwazian, Gitchinendang Kanawa Mengok, Gitchinendang Gibijayak Nongo, Migwatriak Kinadin Wendaganak Panagibe, Nishnabemwat. So I'm Hilary. That's pretty much it. I'm currently taking Anishinaabemowin at Georgian College, and I also work at Indigenous Sport Wellness Ontario with Mikwan. I am leadership program coordinator there. So I've been doing that for quite some time. So I guess that's my connection to wellness now. But I'll also try and talk a little bit about the language because I think that plays an important part in how we are well as Indigenous people. Miigwech.
So ani bojo tanche kiwao mishin dengwe ankwat kwendishnakas pakjahanti and donjiba mamawenene nishnabi king and donji makwando dam. So hi everybody, my name is Gabrielle Fayant. I'm originally from Alberta. My family comes from one of the 8 land-based Métis settlements called Pakjahanse or Sputnow, or also known as Fishing Lake Métis Settlement. And I currently live in Ottawa on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. So I'm a guest there, and I'm part of the Bear Clan. And what I do for work is I do a lot of unpaid work. So I do what most people call community building. I work really closely with a lot of young people in the community, and so we have a youth-led, youth-driven organization called Assembly of 7 Generations. And I think what we're trying to do as Indigenous young people and community members is we're trying to build new and healthy communities so that we can support each other through to cope with some of the traumas we've experienced from colonization.
And so I'll just talk a little bit about my personal journey in that. So miigwech, hi, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to discuss, based on our own personal experiences and understanding, what does it mean to be well physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And if there's anybody that wants to start off first, that's okay.
I'll start off. I like to start off my story always that my story started in a cradle board. That's my dad built us all a cradle board that my siblings actually got to all be in. And my healing as well started through dance. I went to my first powwow at 8 hours old. I went because my siblings wanted to go and powwow is a big thing in our family. We didn't go and play baseball or any of those other sports. You know, we went every weekend. We were at a powwow somewhere, and we always got there just before grand entry, but we always made it. So when I say my story starts in my cradle board is my mom, a long time ago when she would actually teach her classes, and we taught a lot of workshops in communities that were going through a hard time. And we always did community-based workshops where we would do theater and games and storytelling, also a lot of trickster stories as well. And her kids, my siblings, would always be right there, and we would always be a part of it. And as we were in our cradle board, my mom would always want us to be at the same level as her. So she would always hang us up on the wall. My dad would put a hook. And we would always be there watching and hearing. From the minute that we were born, we always had that heartbeat, that storytelling. And that's how wellness kind of played into our family, and also spirituality as well. Because when you're little and you're in a cradle board, it's almost like you're in your mom's womb again. You still have that comfortability, that tightness, that wholesomeness that's in there. And you're also with your mom most of the time, as well as your family members get to carry you on your back. And you're always at that same level. And as you're there, you're also strengthening your back and your legs, because when you hear that music, when babies like to bounce and they jump around in there, or they take their arms out and then you have to kind of swaddle them back in, you know, that's all strengthening your baby. And as well as we were all breastfed as little ones. And I was breastfed till I was 3. And, you know, we want to pass that down to my younger, like my nieces and nephews were all breastfed and also put into cradle boards. So it's kind of something we hold really highly in our family. Is we start there. That's where our story starts, is from the womb to our cradle board, and also into dance. And dance plays a lot in our family. I've been dancing since the day I was born, and I'm never going to stop until the day that I have to regenerate and become something else. So, thank you.
So, in a nutshell, I am an Indigenous caterer within the city, and I do a lot of guest speaking on holistic health and wellness as well within multitudes of communities, whether that's on reserve or off reserve. And I have a lot of people ask me, well, you're a holistic nutritionist, so what does it mean to be like healthy and well? And it's such a subjective question, just because it's so inclusive to everyone that is an individual and so unique. So for me, in terms of what well means, the word wellness, to be well is to be in high regard, or to be in an encapsulated, elevated being of yourself, essentially, right? Like being in a sick dimension or a sick sense, you're in an illness, right? You're ill. And so understanding the parallel and the difference between the two is very important to understand what they are and how they're different from one another. So for me, the things that I consider well is to take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And that comes in a very perspective. So for example, we have dancing. So I'm also a dancer. I'm a fancy shawl dancer. And that's how I take care of my physical well-being. And I share that with a lot of students, adults, elders, whoever it is. And then to take care of my internal being, I use that through nutrition. So I'm a plant-based eater, and I share my knowledge as a plant-based eater through my recipes and my food demos and things like that. In terms of spirituality, I was grateful enough to grow up as an urban indigene. This is a term that I like to use sometimes because I never grew up on reserve. I grew up in the city, but I would go and visit Shawanaga First Nations, which is where my family's from, during holidays and for family events and things like that. And so I got a really interesting perspective to see both of those parallels and how they relate, but also how they're different. And so wellness for me really starts with food, because food is medicine, and that's one of my passions, and that energy exchange through food. So I found that within our communities, spirituality was held at such a high regard, but food was always the last thing that people thought of. So we would have ceremony, we would have all of these things, and then after sweat ceremony or whatever it was, we would go and have a feast, but there would be KFC there, or there would be Indian tacos, or there would be something else. And I was like, this doesn't really add up. I'm like, we're taking care of our mental well-being, our spiritual well-being, and our physical well-being, but like, what about the internal being, right? Because you are what you eat. And then also that energy exchange too in the food, right? So how many of us have been so hungry and maybe we had a super stressed day, or we're like really upset at our loved one or something, and we try and go into the kitchen and we start cooking and it just like turns out as a disaster. And you're just like, oh, like I'm over this. But then like if you go to a family's house, a loved one, someone that cooks a meal that you really, really love, and you can taste that love, and it's so delicious. But then when you try and make the exact same recipe, it doesn't turn out the same way. It's the same thing. So that's wellness for me. Wellness really does start with food. You can heal yourself through food, or you can kill yourself with food. So the Rastas call it a live it instead of a diet, right? Because your diet shouldn't allow you to ultimately come to death. So they call it a live it. And so I share my perspectives on food and wellness in a holistic state in that sense. So for me, it's everything has to come together. It's not one more than the other. There always has to be a balance. But in saying that, like we were having a discussion in the back before this panel, there's always things that are imbalanced, and that's totally okay. It just brings your awareness to things that need improvement, or just need a little bit more looking at. So there is no right or wrong way to be well. It is totally subjective, and it's totally your life journey and your experience. So all of us could share a story about, a time in our life when we were super well and we were doing all the things that we wanted to do, and then a time where we weren't. But it's always those balances and those contrasts that bring us to that really beautiful place of awareness and consciousness as to what well and wellness means to the individual.
Okay. I'll try and follow that. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about wellness, really. As a youth, and I'm still pretty young, wellness was never something that I was ever driving for or striving towards. I've grown to be quite lazy in my youth, and it's something that I've had to mature to deal with, and it's something that I've had to mature to deal with because of the work that I do now. I work for a wellness organization, so I can't I can't keep being lazy, and I can't keep not taking good care of myself, especially because I work in youth leadership, so you got to be a mentor. You can't just tell. I don't believe in telling people what they should do if I can't do it myself. So I've kind of been striving to figure out what wellness means to me and how I want to live well as an Indigenous person. So I've been listening to a lot of old people, elders, my grandparents, people who know things. And so one concept of wellness that I've heard recently, and Miquan was there, we're doing a life promotion training, and there's a guy named John Rice who goes through the Miquan's teachings in quite a bit of detail, and that's about life. And so within that teaching, he talks about what we need to be not only well, but good Anishinaabe people, how to survive properly. And so he identified we need to have purpose. We need to know our responsibilities as Indigenous people. We need to have respect for all things, not just ourselves, but all of creation. We need to respect it. And we need to have a respect for that relationship that we have with all things, that there's a relationship there. We don't have a responsibility to only take care of everything in creation, they also have responsibility to take us. There's a give and there's a take. If we do not uphold our responsibilities, then life can be taken away from us. So there's a give and take that we need to respect, that there's agreements and there's a relationship there. And no one is better or worse than the other. We need to have faith in something, not necessarily spirituality, although it's good to have that. You need to believe in something. You need to have faith in something in order to have hope. If you don't have faith in something, it's hard to have hope. And then he identified we need to believe in life, we need to believe in humanity, that at the end of the day, humans are good, that life is good. You need to have that. So I was thinking about this, and when I think about what elders say, they often talk in stories, and they don't give you a roadmap for wellness. And it's really challenging as youth sometimes, and I've said this many times before in the consultations we've done with youth. Youth often compared elders to Yoda. They would say that elders speak in riddles and then they just leave. So we are often left thinking, well, what are we supposed to do with this information? How are we supposed to do what elders want? And there's a word, and my grandmother used it, and my grandfather used it, and they used to say "pakwaksoin." And I couldn't find it in any dictionary, but they would say it's like food for thought. This is the information we're going to provide you. We're going to provide you with a story, take it or leave it. You can do whatever you want with this information. You can take bits and pieces of it and live your life accordingly. So when I was listening to John talk about this, that's kind of where I was at. I was like, how am I supposed to get all of these 4 things that I'm going to need to be a good Anishinaabe person? And I think at the end of the day, what it came down to was our relationship with the land is important because that's where our identity comes from, that's where our purpose comes from, that's where we often find hope, and that's where you can learn to have that belief in life and humanity and creation. So I think that our relationship with the land is very, very important, and being out on the land is where you can get all of these things. And where I've found them over the course of my life, I've been hunting, fishing, my family runs sugar camp. That's where I get all of these things as an Indigenous person, and that's kind of how I'd like to interact with wellness for now, because I am still lazy, but I do like to get out there. I like to get out on the land and do things, and that's like the first step for me as an Indigenous youth, is trying to get out there more and take care of myself in that way. You got
Did you want to do rock, paper, scissors?
Let's go.
Oh, I'm so bad at rock, paper, scissors. Okay, who wins is going to talk?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to do it the Indigenous way, though? There's a different rock, paper, scissors that we like to do in activities.
Oh, no. I can't
It's
even even do the regular one.
It's bear, fish, and mosquito.
Oh,
So
man.
you go back to back, and then you go like bear or fish or mosquito. You go ahead.
Okay, we'll do that
I
for
can
the
just slap
next
the
one.
mosquito and let you go first.
I gotta wrap my head around it first. Rock, yeah. Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors. All right, cool. Obviously, like with wellness,
Yeah, you lost. Scissors, paper.
yeah. So I lost. So I was gonna go. You want to go? Give her.
Okay, I'll try to wrap my head around the other one for next round. So I was just thinking as you guys were talking about just that I think we really need to be gentle with ourselves. And so I seen this meme the other day, and it was talking about laziness. And what it said is that depression isn't laziness. Looking after ourselves isn't laziness. If we need to take some time to just be at home and veg out, that's not laziness, because we're taking care of all of this wildness that we see in the world, you know, and that's okay. And so, you know, I don't think that it's lazy. Like, I think that it's just us taking time for ourselves, because this world is so fast. And then I was thinking about going to ceremony and when there's KFC, and that's a real thing. But then I also think about why that is, and I think it's really important to eat well and live well, but also to remember that our ancestors had to use these like kind of not so healthy foods today in order to survive. And so sometimes when we have those at a ceremony, it's to remember that. So like fry bread, right? It's really not healthy, but a lot of our ancestors had to use that to survive, so we could be here today. And so a lot of the time when we feast, those spirits, we'll just add a little bit of that, you know, and it's like a comfort food. And you know, I think it's okay to not be so strict with ourselves, like to have a little bit of space for that comfort food or that soul food, like that hangover soup, for example. You know, we need a little bit of that in our lives. And I know for me, especially, that when I'm too strict with myself or people are too strict with me, it actually triggers me. You know, and there's a lot of trauma that comes from being institutionalized, where everything's so rigid and so strict. And you know, let's just make sure that we don't do that to ourselves again in different ways. And so, for a long time in my life, I was really out of balance. I grew up, so I'm a survivor of 3 generations of residential schools, day school, and industrial school survivors. And so there's a lot of internalized trauma that got passed down. And so something that was really normalized in my family was substance abuse. And like living in chaos. That was kind of how I lived my life. So for many years, I lived only knowing what I was gonna do 2 days from now, a day from now. I didn't have the capacity or the balance in my life to look a year ahead or 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead. You know, I was living in a really reactive state instead of a proactive state. And I think that's what balance is, it's proactive. And that's why we always striving for that, because we know that we want to be hopeful. You know, we have faith in spirit, and we want to be hopeful for the next 10 years, the next generations. And so I drank a lot. Like I was a really heavy drinker, to the point where I'd black out, wouldn't know where I was, put myself in very, very vulnerable situations. And in that way, I was acting in a suicidal way. I didn't want to be here. So I was looking for things to just numb out the pain. And I didn't have healthy coping mechanisms to do that. I just knew alcohol was one. And it was, you know, it was kind of working, because it would numb out that pain. So I'd also actually use some of my natural skills. And so naturally, I'm a very resourceful person. And so I'd use those skills to find where I was gonna pay for the next bottle, or where I was gonna get those substances for my friends. And you know, there was times where I would drink for like 3 months straight. And eventually 7 years ago, so I'm 32 now, so 7 years ago I was 25, that's when I finally stopped it and I changed my life around. And so I'm 7 years sober this year, yeah. Yeah. And it's been a very hard journey. Nothing easy about it, but it's been a very beautiful journey. And so the way I think about my life is that, so I'm a big gamer. I don't know if anybody else is, but I love playing video games. And so I think of each lesson in my life as like a level in a game. So everything in my life I look as like, oh, I'm leveling up. Now I'm gonna use all those skills I learned in that level for the next level. And it's true. That's how all of those things I learned along the way, all the hard things and all the beautiful things, have helped me in my next hard experiences in life. And I'll touch on those a little bit, but I think that, walking on that good road is really, really important. And everybody does it different. For me, it's not drinking alcohol, but for someone else, it might be just drinking alcohol socially. Or maybe it's finding a different way to cope with it, finding different boundaries and creating boundaries, and then saying no. Saying no is important. If you don't have any room left or any energy left, it's okay to say no. And those are the skills I learned along the way to help me today. You got chai hai.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot of ways to look at wellness, and I think it comes down to the individual and how they might define it. Of course, we talk about these 4 different dimensions mentioned in your question, Quay, and I also wanted to acknowledge that within those, there's multiple more dimensions that a lot of, I think, people incorporate into their frameworks, and there could be about a dozen, but half of those actually are more specific to community. And so when we talk about wellness, I think it's important to talk about both individual wellness, as well as the community wellness, because the individuals, within themselves, and it's an inside job what you're doing to maintain your quality of life or your day-to-day, how you carry out your way of living in the best way that you can possibly do. But you get affected if some of those elements are out with the mental, physical, and I think it definitely relates to some of our surroundings at times. So for instance, with myself, and I like to talk about sport as being, and physical activity being this amazing emotional outlet, because if I'm feeling a certain way, instead of taking all whether it's grief or this pain or these other negativities that have nothing to do with me, and I'm internalizing that, instead of keeping and pushing that down, I'm finding that release in the most positive way. So for instance, in high school and elementary, I played every single sport that I possibly could. And it was because, I was able to run really hard to get that out. And I played rugby or lacrosse, and I love it because I was able to tackle or hit people in an aggressive way, but I did it as legal as I possibly could without getting a penalty. And it would be fine, and it was utilized, and I transformed that energy in the best way that I knew how. And I actually got a lot of praise for that. So beyond just in the construct of sport, and people are trying to win, and you're there as your social connections that you're establishing, you're making those friendships, you're creating new families. But beyond that, there was things that was happening with my parents where I didn't always get, I guess, the emotional support that I always needed or the attention. So if I went and played basketball and I won an award, or I smashed a really good smash in volleyball, like someone would be able to give me that pat on that back, that positive sanction, that high five that, I needed those things that I wasn't always getting. So I like to think about supporting people in the best way that we can and recognizing their efforts, especially as positively as we can, because in my own personal experience, I know that, when I'm doing well or I feel happier, there's been times where people actually try to pull you down. And I think that's extremely relational in sport, the things that people will say. And I know one of the comments earlier from the audience, how do you deal with that racism in sport? And there's other things that apply to life. And I think of, crabs in the bucket and the different things that I learned from other organizations that I've been involved with. When you talk about crabs in the bucket, you think of a bucket of crabs and you put them all in there from the beach, and what do they want to do? They want to get out of there, right? And that could be relational to our communities. That could be relational to our friendships, our circles that we have, or our family. And instead of you seeing everyone saying, okay, we're going to make a crab ladder, we're going to push each other out, or somebody come along and just kick that damn bucket of crabs over already, because we don't want to be stuck in there. And I think about where I was in high school and how I developed this really, a greater confidence in myself and my abilities. And I've seen a lot of individuals at different stages in their life, whether it's introductory, intermediate, or advanced levels of confidence, and I had this high level here, but I heard people talking about me in different ways. So it was like, oh, she thinks she's so good, you know? She's doing that again, or she's bragging, and it's like, no, I need to celebrate my success because I'm away from my family and I don't know how else to say, you know, to keep myself up. And I need people to acknowledge the good things that I'm doing. Or maybe it's like, sorry, what was the other word I was gonna say? Well, she thinks she's so good, like goody two shoes. You know, when you have all those good behaviors, you got negative connotations on you. And people tell you to dream, succeed, and do greater, better things. But when you act in those motions, you know, they don't always respond in the best ways. And I don't think that's specific to Indigenous communities. I think that happens worldwide as well. So I really appreciate some of the concepts that I've been told, whether it's Get Some Guts or different campaigns that are out there. I can't remember specifically the ones that I wanted to tap into, but those are different ideas that brought me forward in a better way. And especially for being Indigenous, one of the other concepts was, it's a good day to be brown. I'm sure you've heard that before, but there was another layer to it where somebody said, you know, it's a good day to be brown, like light, medium, dark, and even fake brown, because there's a lot of Caucasians trying to get that same shade as us, you know what I mean? So I love when there's different analogies or metaphors and different ways for us to see things in that respect.
Miigwech. Or there's a lot of there's a lot of other Indigenous people using tanning beds or fake tan, so, you know, that happens too.
Gotta get the right shade of brown that you want, right?
I really liked how everybody talked about really letting go of like westernized ideals of wellness, because I think that like through social media we've been warped. Like we've been warped to not think like, oh, all these fitness Instagram models, all these things like that, like that's not really, yeah, they're physically well, but like we don't know their personal lives. We have to always come from an Indigenous lens and thinking about, okay, are they like mentally stable? Are they like emotionally connected? Like those kind of things we always have to think about and really let go of Western ideals. A lot of my girlfriends are like, I'll talk a little bit like being female too. They're like, oh, how do you get those slim arms or those slim legs? And they're like, how do you tone? I'm like, I literally lift 20, 30 bicep curls. I can put 6 plates on the sled machine and push it. Like this, as a female, like you have to get out of that mindset of like if you want to be toned, you can't lift too heavy. No, you literally have to lift heavy. So it's like breaking out of those ideals that we have that Western culture has given us and forgetting them, because our grandmas hauled wood, didn't they? And they're pretty fit. So I want to talk about these fitness models or even ourselves. Like we don't know if they're mentally stable but more on aspects of our lives where we haven't been balanced. I know for me recently, taking more care of my mental health. Like I go to counseling. I really love it now, and my counselors are really good support for me and reminding me about other areas of my life. Like every time I go in, he's like, "All right, girl, did you run today? Have you been running?" Because for me, that's my emotional release. That's I get connected to my spirit when I run. And recently, I've had plantar fasciitis. So I don't even know how to explain what that is, but your foot hurts. Everything you do, it hurts. So I've been doing spin class. And these are like new areas that I'm finding about myself that I haven't been balanced in. And I want to ask this question, like, what areas in your life have you realized now you have to be more balanced in? Because mine was my mental health.
I guess relational to what the point you just brought up with plantar fasciitis, because I developed that as well. But when we were in university together, in our second semester playing varsity basketball, I actually had to sit that season out. And it was a huge detriment to me because I was just like, this is all I know. This was my wellness, being physically active and having that emotional outlet that I was already speaking about. And without that, I didn't know how to carry myself. And when additional things came upon, like challenges that I was encountering, I didn't know how to deal with it. And I think even now where my age is at, and obviously with recent grief of losing my father about a year ago and other things that are compiling, like when I talk about pushing those things down, your body starts to speak in those ways. So when you get that injury, it might not have been a direct result of something that happened in a game and you got a broken whatever, but it's something that's developed in time because, for instance, for the past 2.5 years, maybe I've been dealing with adult acne, and that's something that I've never had before. And it also challenged me on a confidence level. So being able to carry myself in a different way, and I'm like, how do I do this now? Or I talk about those comments about things people might have said about me, where it's like, I didn't understand when I got questioned about, why are you so kind all the time, as if there was another motive behind it, or why are you so happy, or it doesn't make sense that people are questioning you on the way that you think we're all supposed to be and what we want to do, because I was winning actually an Academy Award in recovery in my own mind because I wasn't putting forward how I was feeling day to day. I was acting out in a way I wanted to be on another level. So fake it till you make it kind of deal, right? So coming back around to things that you're suppressing, there's other things that are happening with my body right now where I'm like, why am I feeling this way, whether it's arthritic or different pains in certain areas. And I think because I finally allowed myself to be vulnerable and sort of talk about those issues that I'm dealing with, that those are coming forth because there was a disconnect I was making with my body as well. If I wasn't going to acknowledge it or have that intuitive feeling, it's going to come up and pop right in my face or pull me down to make me realize, hey, you need to slow down and take a look at this.
All right.
I revamped it, and I'm just gonna ask it again.
We didn't practice this question.
I surprised everyone.
Ebb and flow, yo.
But it was just about what areas have you realized in your life that you've been living imbalanced?
So to me, I think that learning the English language is actually something that breaks a lot of our spirits. Or not breaks, but it interferes with our ability to understand creation and the land and our communities and all that good stuff. So I think language is so important. Language, Indigenous language, whatever Indigenous language that you have access to or that you are able to learn, please learn it. Those languages are they say they're dying out. And it's because not enough people are learning Indigenous languages. And so I really hope that we can centralize those. And so for me, for example, I'm Métis from Alberta, but I live in Ottawa. And my first language teacher was Anishinaabe teacher. And she's from Manitoulin Island, Jean Akoenzi. And so I learned that language because it was the only one that was there at the university I was at. And so I learned it. And then sure enough, I met my husband, and he's Anishinaabe from Manitoulin. And so it just connected. And sometimes you do things and it's spiritual. Like spirit is taking care of that. You might not understand it fully in your brain or emotions or physically yet, but there's something helping you, guiding you. And that's a part of it, I think, that was happening for me. And but I wouldn't have been able to get there if it wasn't for something that actually helped me reconnect with spirit 7 years ago. And so for me, the biggest helper in helping me walk in a good way was ceremony. And so about 7 years ago, there was these young people from Wakmakstu, which is a Cree community, the very northern Cree community in Quebec. And they decided that they were going to walk to Ottawa. And they were also guided by ceremony. So they had a spiritual advisor. And this person contacted us in Ottawa, and he said they want the youth to welcome them when they come to Ottawa. And so we started organizing, and Danny was one of those youth. I still think that Danny's 15, because that's how I met her. Yeah, it's been 7 years. I still say Danny's 15. But so we started organizing, and so I ended up in. I was still drinking a little bit at the time, and I ended up in Montreal, and I had a few drinks that night because we were going to a party or whatever, and I had this really, really powerful dream. And that dream's like a whole other conversation, but it was a really, really powerful dream that really changed my life, or that was a sign that my life was going to change. And I woke up the next morning, and that spiritual guider for the Nishu Walkers called me, and he said, we're going to have a ceremony. We're going to have UP ceremony. Not sure if anyone's ever experienced that, but very, very powerful ceremony. And I told him I can't go because I was drinking last night. And so he thought about it, and he prayed about it a little bit, and he said, that's okay. You're going to come anyways because you need to be here. And so we're going to give you a cedar bath, and then you can come into the ceremony. And he said, we're only going to give you this exception once. And I went to that ceremony, and it changed my life. That was the last time I ever drank. And it changed my life 100%. And so the biggest lesson that I got from that experience is that I was told that I have to always be ready. So I don't know, I will never know if tomorrow morning someone will say, hey, can you sing a song for me? I need some healing. Hey, you need to come to the ceremony again because people need a little bit of help. Or, hey, you need to help out with this fire, you need to help out with this water, or anything like that. And so ever since, for the last 7 years, I've always been ready. And that's what keeps me healthy and well. And that's what allows me to give back to community. So that was the biggest part of me that was missing, was that spiritual component. And once that got in line, the rest of my life followed.
So basically, Gabby, what you're saying is everybody needs to delete Tinder, learn their language, because Anishinaabe is the love language.
It just starts with danse. Just kidding.
Or wache.
Hey, or wache. I wanted to talk, so I'm starting to say that I'm two-spirit, but I always tell my nieces and nephews, you know, I'm whatever you need me to be that day. Sometimes they'll say, you know, Uncle Beanie or Auntie Beanie, or I'm their best friend that day. So my story, it starts in a lot of places, but I always wanted to be a grass dancer. That was like my thing. I wanted to be that. It's a men's style of dance. And I had a lot of people telling me that I can't do that. Women can't do this, women can't do that. You can't sit here, you have to go over there, you can't wear that. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting held back. I can't even go to ceremonies now because I don't want to sit on that side and I don't want to sit on that side. So I was about 9 years old and I was just getting into hoop dancing. And I took a year off from dancing at age 10. And through that time, I was actually gifted my first fully beaded pair of moccasins. And little did I know that they were going to be my magic moccasins. And I wore them everywhere. I wore them to Walmart, I wore them to the mall, I wore them out to eat, I even slept in them. I loved my magic moccasins. I would dance everywhere, like anywhere I would go, I'd just dance around. And that was kind of that was like my platform. Little did I know, that was my platform where I was going to start becoming a grass dancer. And I was really, really shy. Like, having me talk back then was like, you would have to pay me a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But like, you would really, like, I didn't talk a lot. I wouldn't even order. I couldn't even talk on the phone. My mom would talk for me. My dad would talk for me. My siblings always gave me my voice. And then I got hoop dancing. Hoop dancing was my voice. It was a way to convey my story to thousands of people. I could tell a whole story to someone without saying one word. But there was the year that I stopped dancing. I was kind of taking a stand because I told my parents that I wanted to be a grass dancer. I want to do the style, and if I can't, then I'm going to stop dancing. I'm not going to dance anymore. But I still wore my moccasins. And that year, like, I told them, I was like, please, I want to dance grass. And they're like, okay, you asked enough. We could see you're serious. But in order for you to dance grass, you have to get permission. And I was like, permission, okay. And the reason why, like, as I got older, I was like, I don't need permission, I just want to do it. But my dad was making sure that when he wasn't going to be there, that I would be safe. If anyone wanted to come up to me, I could say, like, no, I got permission to do this dance. It's my style. I'm part of the Grass Dance Society. And when I was little, I didn't understand what he was doing. Like, I didn't understand that he wanted to make sure that I was safe in the future, when I would be living on my own, when I'd be a woman, when I'd be growing up and an adult. So at age 10, we always traveled across Canada. We had a family-based performing arts company, and we went to multiple reserves across Canada, as well as universities and penitentiaries. So during that journey, when we would do our tour, my parents said, well, you have to go and you have to talk to all the grass dancers. You have to talk to the elder grass dancers. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let's do this. So my dad would come with me. He would initiate the conversation with these big burly men, and they were like daunting. I was little, but what they all told me, that if it's in your heart to do this style of dance, then you should do it. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, like, no, you're a girl, you can't do it. But they were more supportive than I ever would have thought. But all it took was just talking to them. Talking a little bit, telling them about myself, why I want to do this dance. The reason why I wanted to do grass dancing, because they were the protectors of everyone. They were to make sure that before anyone would go out there, they would make sure that there was nothing there to harm the people. And I thought that was such a beautiful way. They were risking their lives just so that the young ones can come out to dance, the elders can come out to shine, the adults can finally feel free. And I thought that was a beautiful reason to be a grass dancer. And I wanted to have that skill. I tried every style of dance. I didn't just go to grass dance, I tried women's traditional, I tried jingle, I tried fancy, and I didn't have fun. It was more like work to me. I couldn't have fun dancing, and I loved dancing. And then finally, that year went by, and we finally came home. It was August. We have our powwow in Kihiwan in August. And I remember that day that my mom was like, we're getting ready for your initiation. You're going to be a grass dancer. And I was like, oh my God, I was getting so excited because finally I could be a little bit of who I was. And it wasn't just my parents that worked on my outfit. It was my aunties, my uncles would help me. They would help me with my roach. They would help. The roach is what you wear on your head that protects your feathers. And you have the guard hair, the really long hair of the porcupine, as well as the deer tail that would be like dyed in different colors. So I remember getting ready for the powwow, and I was nervous and excited and anxious because at the same time I didn't know how people were going to perceive me as a person. And a lot of the times that's what always deterred me from doing stuff is, what are people going to think? What is my reserve going to think? Like, are they going to make fun of me? But it was actually the complete opposite. I remember finally putting on my outfit, trying it on. They were pinning everything on me, and there were still pins on my outfit even during my initiation because it was just happening so quickly. And I remember my whole family was there. My whole family, and during an initiation, your whole family comes, as well as the person that you look up to as a dancer. He was there. He was with me. He was one of my dad's grass dance buddies, and he was one of the ones I looked up to. He was an old grass dancer, part of the Grass Dance Society, and he was there with me, and behind you is your whole family, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your friends, and you go around that first powwow arena the first time with all your family. The second time you go around with your role model. The third time you go around, you dance by yourself. And as you're doing this, there's grass dancers all the way around that dance arena. And they're all waiting because on the fourth push-up, that's when they all come in and they all dance with you. And as I was dancing around on that fourth push-up, all of a sudden I can feel it. They all started to come in and they were all dancing with me because they're welcoming you to that Grass Dance Society. And as I was dancing, I just danced harder, and I was like dancing hard, hard, hard. And then everyone I remember when that song stopped, we all stopped. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I felt so good. I could finally be me. But at that time, I was really young. I didn't know that I was, two-spirit. I didn't know that I was open, that trickster that can transform into anything. But as I grew up, I started to learn a little bit about myself. Some people use different gender terminology, lesbian, gay, but at the same time, I was like, I don't feel like I'm any of these because I want to be who my community needs me to be that day. I want to be your best friend. I want to be your brother. I want to be your sister. I want to be the medicine that you need. I want to be that laughter that you need. And through that, my life, I started to figure out like, okay, this is me. I want to transform. I don't want to stay one. And I knew that from the very beginning. I was like, I know I'm not one, and I'm not two, and I'm not three. I'm everything. And I want to be everything. I want to change because as Indigenous people, as myself, we adapt. No matter what hardships come along, we always adapt and we find that laughter. Or we cry together, and that's healing, and that's letting go, and that's accepting as well. When you cry, you're accepting and you're letting go all at the same time, and then you laugh after. Someone says something crazy and you're like laughing and crying, and you know, that's a beautiful way. And I think that's a way to heal, is that crying and laughter. And that's what we need as Indigenous people. That's what I need, is to be able to cry and laugh with you, to hear your stories. And I want to feel it. And I want to be that person. Not every two-spirit person is like this. This is just me, and I'm speaking just from me. But I will be who you need today. And I will always be there for you. I'm as open as a book. And I was telling them back in that thing, is that I'm so open that if a book could go all the way around, that's how open I want to be. Because, you know, there's this, I want you to know that I am here for you, for you, for you. And I want to be here for everyone, even the people that are watching this live. I want to be here for you, you know. And I want hoop dancing to be for everyone. Because hoop dancing is a form of storytelling that is done through dance. So if you can't find the words to say, your hoops will help you. So, hi, hi.
So for me, I think a saying that I always catch myself sharing is that a mechanic drives a crappy car, which is so true, right? So how many people are in a profession, but they don't do what they're preaching? And I hate saying that. A lot of us. And so being a holistic health and wellness practitioner, as a nutritionist, I'd sit there and I would have all this knowledge and I'd have all these books and things like that on nutrition and eating well and what it meant. And I was giving so much of myself outward that I wasn't nurturing my inner state. And so when it came to catering, my catering business, I would spend all of this time and energy cooking for other people and have the love and the passion behind it. But when it came to actually sitting down and making a meal or having a meal by myself, it's the last thing I wanted to do. So I started my business about a year ago, and it all started with someone mistaking me as a caterer. And so I called my mom and I said, you know, can I do this? And she's like, yeah, sure, why not? So I decided that for 6 months I would try it, and if it worked out, then it did, and if it didn't, then I would try something else. And here I am a year and a bit later. So it was a success. But in doing so, I had to like manage all of these things that I'd never had done before, like running a business by myself. I'd watched my mom build her business, and guest speaking and workshops and networking and all that jazz. But I was like, okay, this is like my time now. I can't be, you know, following in her footsteps in that sense. I want to make my own path. And so I was trying to figure out what my niche was and all of these business-related things. And then I started to develop these signature recipes that I now have today. And I would spend hours and hours practicing and curating. And then my mom would look at me and say, you know, have you eaten today? And I'd be like, no, but I spent the entire day with food. And then time would just elapse so quickly because when I'm prepping and I'm with my food, that's ceremony for me. And if any of you have been in ceremony, whether it's a sweat ceremony, that's the first one that comes to mind, time passes different. And so you could be in ceremony and it feels like maybe you were in there for less than an hour, but you've been in there for 3 to 5 hours. That's the exact same way that I feel when I'm prepping, which is epic and beautiful and crazy, and sometimes I don't get any sleep, but it's all a process. And so I had to really look at what I was doing. As much as I was putting so much love into the food that I was delivering and things like that, how was that being translated? Because that's an energy exchange, and that's something that I was chatting with these lovely human beings earlier about. is that exchange, right? So if I'm not in a good mental or emotional state and I'm prepping food, whoever's ingesting that food ultimately is also going to feel the same way, right? So how many of us have eaten something that you know is not that great for you and doesn't make you feel the best, regardless of what that is, and you eat it and you're just like, oh, I don't feel good. It's the same concept. So a lot of people have this disconnect with their food because we go to a grocery store for it and we don't, pick those berries and those herbs and stuff from the soil and get that soil in our nails and, in between our feet and stuff like that. And so the relationship is different. That being said, I had to really look at myself. So what was I offering on an internal level, right? Because my clients and the people I love around me were only going to get as much as I was giving to myself. And so I had to really take some time. So I had mentioned earlier my grandfather, or my dad's side of the family is Guyanese, and so they are immigrants from Guyana, and I had gone and spent some time with them recently. My grandfather is an incredible human being. He used to be a diver. He used to dive for gold and diamonds back home. And so he was just sharing stories with me and stuff, really incredible. And he said to me, he's like, Alex, before you start prepping, take an hour of your day, an hour of your time before prepping, and meditate. And think about why you're doing what you're doing. Like you're here and you have these gifts and you have this purpose to fulfill, but you really need to ground yourself and ensure that you're offering the best version of yourself and the best quality. But that starts with you. And when I was younger, I would always have these people say, you need to be selfish. Being selfish is not a bad thing, and this, that, and the other. And so on my dad's side of the family, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough skinned. But on my mom's side, they're like, you're a little too blunt, Alex. You got to tone it down a little bit. And so I always struggled with this balance, especially as like a Libra. I'm always trying to fit on these scales. You as well? Hey. And so I had to really figure out what that meant in a healthy way for me is to be selfish. And so, like you were discussing earlier, it's not about being depressed or being lazy or anything like that. Actually, I wanted to talk on that note. So depression is being in deep rest, to be in deep rest. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing to be in deep rest, right? Like in the winter season, a lot of us are finding ourselves so busy when traditionally speaking, this is a time to slow down. This is a time for storytelling. This is a time to be with our communities. And living in this, 9 to 5, we're on a grind. We're always on the road. And so, I really had to take the time for myself to really ensure that I was in a good place. And then I found myself in a situation where I was prepping for an event one day, and I had someone come into my kitchen, and they were just not in the best energy, and I had to ask them to leave. Because I can't have that in there. If that's something that I'm like, okay, this is a boundary, this is a non-negotiable for me, I can't have someone else come in and interrupt the flow and the feng shui. You know what I'm saying? So I had to ask them to leave. And so in saying that, moving forward, I had to really ensure that I took the time to sit down and not be on my phone and not to be on the laptop and just enjoy my meal and really breathing while I'm eating that meal so I can really taste, that nutty taste in those, nuts and seeds that I'm eating, or that avocado, or whatever it is, and really taking the time for myself. And then it became a thing where being an entrepreneur, I was like, this is always a go, 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 go. I need to have downtime because studies have shown that people who are very driven and goal-oriented and successful, they work in these explosive bursts of energy, and then they have mass amounts of rest time. So they show that in athletes and things like that. And so I was like, I'm an athlete in a different perspective. I'm gonna apply the same knowledge. And so that's what I do. So I bust my butt for the week and whatever it is, and then my 2 off days, those are off days. So I have a lot of friends in the audience, and they send me messages on those off days, and they don't hear from me. And it's nothing personal, it's just I need that time for myself. I need to put all that love and energy back into me. Something else that I wanted to touch on was, someone had said to me the other day, and I know people may take this in a weird way, but I don't mean this in a weird way, but make love to yourself the way that you would want someone else to make love to you. like really taking care of yourself. So, you know, if you're jumping out of the shower and you're lotioning your skin and you know you have dry skin, like really taking your time to rub that shea butter into your skin, you know, like just give yourself some love. Or like if you wanted to wake up early on your off day just to get all these things out of the way and you slept in and you're like, you wake up and you're really hard on yourself, not to be hard on yourself, to really just take that time to nestle into that relaxation phase and nurturing that. So in that sense, I feel like that kind of wraps everything that I wanted to say.
That was good. What I really liked was how you talked about like, oh, I had this idea, then I called my mom. And then Wanique, she relied on her mom and our parents. And then how many people in here are parents? So you have, yeah, they were little hands. But everybody in here has parents, and I think that we always have to be kind towards them because I think for Indigenous people, they went through a lot, and they tried to give us role modeling and examples of the best they could. So being kind and like, as you become parents, knowing the role that you're gonna play in helping them deal with challenges and barriers. And I'm so lucky that my parents, they were athletes, they were runners, they were bikers all my life growing up. I know my mom went for 5Ks, my dad went biking. So now in my life when like times get hard, I'm like, okay, let me go for a run. And now that I had plantar fasciitis, I was like, okay, well, my dad bikes, so I'm gonna go to spin class. So as you go into the next stage of your life, or as you are as parents, I think it's really important for us as children to be kind to them, but also model their healthy coping mechanisms and acknowledging the ones that they have that you can use for yourself. And so I want to ask the panel, how have you dealt with challenges and barriers that have impacted your health and wellness?
Wait, Hilary didn't get to go.
Oh, sorry, Hilary.
I was
The
trying
last
to skip
question
out
again.
of that question. No, just
I forget
kidding.
the question I even asked.
I don't remember either. But
Oh, you were asking what the imbalance is. Like,
Oh.
what do you...
yeah,
Yeah?
that's why I didn't want to answer that one. But I'll answer them both because they are related. So time when I'm imbalanced, where do I start? I think I'll start with the physical because that's been a more recent challenge of mine. I played pretty competitive hockey most of my life down in Toronto, and I played some lacrosse. I was a competitive soccer player, and I also got a black belt in karate. So I was very active as a youth, and I found that it was a challenge kind of when my career was ending to stay active. And I think it was just because of how, especially when you think about hockey in Canada, it's pretty intense from a very early age. And it was pretty intense very quick for me. When I came down, I was playing hockey down here. I remember being like maybe 8 years old, and we were going over game tape, like watching our games on video, and the coach kind of going through every single thing that we were doing, giving us a hard time on it. And it felt like I was already in the NHL, and I was 8 years old. And so I remember them getting mad at me one time because I didn't want to do any of the things that they were asking me to do. I was just kind of done. And I remember the coach being like, "Don't you want to make it to the NHL?" And I was like, "No." I'm niche, I want to fish. I just want to play the games. And so I remember that all these sports kind of cut into my life back home on the reserve. I like to say that I was born in Toronto and I went to school down here and I played hockey and other sports down here, but I was actually raised on the reserve, on the land with my family. And so when I was going to all these practices and playing all these games, I was missing out on a lot of that with my cousins and even my sibling, my brother. He was going back all the time. And so I missed a lot of that family time because I was playing competitive sports. So when my career kind of ended, I was done. I wasn't playing hockey anymore. I wasn't doing any. I was done with karate. I was done with soccer. I was done with all of it. And so it kind of went out of balance. I stopped doing anything physical, really, for quite some time. It was just initially just because I was tired, and then it kind of became a habit. And it was only recently when I kind of snapped out of it because I got sick. I still tried to go back onto the land as much as I could, and my family, we walk around our territory, and usually it was about, I think it was about 40-kilometer hike usually, and it would take us a few days to do it. But a few years ago, my dog actually ran away while we were on this hike, and I don't know if you know what Nish mothers are like, but when my dog ran away, she lost it. It was like it was the end of the world when we lost that dog, because he was getting older and he was from a shelter, so he's a pretty timid dog. So she felt pretty bad. So she sent, and I just was talking about when the last question I was talking about how elders tell us stories and it's information, take it or leave it. Not with mothers. They tell you what to do. So she told us to get the heck back out there and go find that dog. So I ended up walking with my dad maybe over the course of a couple weeks, about 140 kilometers, and I hadn't been doing anything physical at all. So my lung collapsed. It was a slow leak because I dislocated my rib, so it kind of punctured my lung, and it was a slow leak over time, and I ended up in the hospital maybe a month later. And it was when I got out of that hospital and when I saw my grandfather, and he kind of looked at me funny. And again, this is definitely not a story. He was telling me what to do. He said, "You better take care of yourself." And he just left. So, and it caused me to reflect a little bit and think about if I want to be on the land and do all of these things, I need to take care of myself physically, or else I'm going to hurt myself. Or I may not even survive, because it was pretty ugly walking that far. So now I've started to kind of pick up, I play hockey again and do some sports and physical activity, because I want to be able to go out on the land and do these things. And if I don't take care of myself physically, I can't do it. So to get to the second question, how have I faced these challenges? It's my family that have provided that wisdom. Also humor. They tell stories in a funny way, or they kind of tease you a little bit, and it helps you to kind of accept that information. I really respected the way that my grandfather used to speak and the way that he used to carry himself when teaching us, and how he would provide us with knowledge and teachings. But the way he delivered it, it was always pretty relaxed. He never considered himself to be an elder. So I think it was my family, and it was my connection to the land and my values as an Indigenous person that got me on track again and taking care of myself. But I think it was also humor that helped me realize where I was at. And I like to tell one story about my grandfather and hunting. And how he would use that humor to teach. And so we were out, and it was getting late. It was starting to get dark. It might have been 5 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m. And when you're out in the bush, if it gets dark, it gets pitch black out there, and you're not moving anywhere fast. And so rule of thumb is when it starts to get dark, typically don't shoot anything, because it's going to take a long time don't shoot anything if you can't see, obviously. but if it's starting to get dark, even like it is right now, you don't have much time to take care of that animal before it gets pitch black. So my uncle shot 2 moose when it was like this. So it's a bit of an issue, because moose are pretty large animals. And so my grandfather's way of teaching my uncle about this was to scare him. he didn't. He kind of just started talking to him, and so what he was doing is as we were gutting the moose, and my uncles had gone to they were gutting the moose, and my uncles had gone to get help. He was telling my uncle, he said, "Oh, it's starting to get dark out here, and it's going to get cold once it's the fall time. So I think once the sun goes down, it starts to get cold really fast." He said, "We might have to start a fire by this moose, and if we're not warm enough, we might have to crawl inside these moose. There's one for each of us." And because my grandfather is pretty well respected, my uncle says he was getting pretty scared. He thought he was serious, so we might have to crawl in these moose. So I better hurry up and gut them because we're going to have to get in there. My grandfather, he kept talking, and he said, "If it's not warm enough in there, we're going to have to get naked." We're gonna. He keeps scaring, he keeps taking this further and further. And he's telling him that we're going to have to rub the guts of this moose all over ourselves because there's going to be wolves, he's saying. Did you hear those? There's wolves out there. They're going to come and get us. We got to cover ourselves in the moose guts so they can't smell us. It doesn't make any sense, but but as he's telling him this, my uncle is getting more and more scared. But when my uncle tells the story again and again, we're out in the bush, and part of hunting is we tell all these stories. We learned that you shouldn't shoot moose when it's starting to get dark because we don't know if we're going to be out there or if we're going to get help in time. We can't just leave the moose there because it's wasteful. So he was using humor to kind of convey that message, and you can take bits and pieces of it, and I like to remember my grandfather in that way of that sense of humor and that real seriousness. You get real old niche guys that kind of talk like they're real serious. We're gonna have to get in that moose, and you take them seriously. So I think it's family, and I think it's that Indigenous sense of humor that we all seem to have that helps us to learn these lessons and get on track. When you make mistakes, yelling doesn't work, and the way that most people approach discipline I don't think works, but I think that has been most effective for me, and it's kind of connecting with family that's really helped me get on track in my wellness journey. So that's kind of a long story, but I think that answers both of the questions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I just wanted to do something really quick. If you're able to do so, if you just want to get up and, because I'm a dancer, I don't sit long. If you want to get up and just bounce a little, stretch it out, bounce, find that beat within yourself, wake up. Good. Yeah, don't get up too fast. But that's a little bit of our barrier, being in an institution, is we're always sitting all the time. We don't have that time to move. And I'm a mover shaker person. Like, I'll be like rocking, jamming out to a song in my head that everyone's like, why is she moving? But once you had a stretch, you can go ahead and sit back down. So the barriers that really impact me was moving away from my res. Once I moved away from my res, I found that my wellness really went down. I didn't have my kukum that just lived like yelling distance. We would yell, it'd be like, "Kukum, do you have any sugar?" "No, ask your auntie." So, like going from that dynamic to having my kukum and my aunt live literally like 2 steps away, and my uncle that lived across the street, it really did something to me, because I went from living in a res to living in a city in Miami. And it was 2 really drastic things that happened. First of all, I wasn't able to go to round dances anymore. Sweats I wasn't able to go to. Also, dancing wasn't happening as much. We actually started going to the gym, which was really different from my family, because a lot of the times we go to different communities. And I wasn't able to go to communities as much. Usually, like, on a weekend, like, we would always be in a community. We would be running workshops with different youth and working with elders, working with children. And when I talk about elders, like elders come in all different forms and they come in different ages. Like I find my elders are also in children because they tell you exactly how it is. Like if you don't look good today, they'll tell you, you don't look good today. And you shouldn't wear that jacket, or you should do this, or I want to do this, let's do this. And they tell you different stories that you're like, what the heck are they saying? But then down the line, you're like, oh my God, that totally makes sense. And it was such an easy way to convey that message to you. So a lot of the barriers that I found is once I moved away from my reserved, I moved to Miami. And I was starting to learn more about my Taino side. If you're not familiar with the Tainos, they come originally from Cuba. And they were the first, kind of the first nations to come into contact with Columbus. And a lot of them, like people to this day, still think we're extinct. But I'm like, no, we're right here. I'm right here. Hola. So, learning about my Taino side, I don't know much. I know a lot about my Plains Cree side. We go to ceremonies, we go to horse dances. But at the same time, when I'm at these ceremonies, like I was saying before, there's a lot of times where I can't take part because a lot of the times it's a lot of the males that have to do it. During a horse dance, it's all about honoring the horse and how it helped us when they came to us. When the horses came to us, we always honor everything that comes and helps us. Whether it's the small little ants that crawl on the ground or the eagle that flies highest to the sky, but we always find a way to honor them. And a lot of the barriers that were put up in front of me was that, no, you can't do that because you're a girl. No, you can't do that because you're on your moon time. No, you can't do that because it wasn't always positive. Like I like that when you're on your moon time, you're powerful. You have this medicine that can be passed on to people. And we don't talk about it. Anytime you're talking about your moon time, everyone's like, oh, do you have your period? Oh, I'm on my moon time. Like it's a secret. But no, like as women, we are the holders of so much medicine. And we have so much medicine that when we go into a ceremony and we're on our moon time, we have too much medicine that overpowers what's going on. And a lot of times it's not conveyed to us that way. It's conveyed to us like, oh, you're on your moon time, so you can't be here right now. Or you have to sit over there. It's not said like, you're too powerful for our ceremony right now. You have too much medicine. That's why you can't be here. That's why you can't be at this ceremony right now. That's why you can't go into the powwow arena, because there's certain things that are happening in this powwow. Powwows have been around for a long time. And a lot of the times, powwows were a male-dominant thing. It was males in the middle singing on the drum. And a little more that I learned about that drum is the drum was given to the women, and they passed it on to the men. And a lot of the times we're not told that. We're just told we're not allowed to do that, especially on my Cree side. They love telling me that I'm not allowed to be by that drum. I can't touch this, I can't do this. And I'm like, why? Can you tell me why though? Then I can better understand, okay, I understand now. This isn't my drum, this is your drum. Now I understand. Now I'm not coming like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. No, now I'm like, I have a better understanding of who I am as a human being, as a woman, as a two-spirit person coming into this circle. So as a woman on your moon time, I used to be scared of getting it. I was like, I don't want to get it because if I get it, I won't be able to do things that other people can. But no, that is your superpower. Your superpower is your moon time, and we can look at that moon as our grandmother. As we look at the sun, that's our grandfather, our grandmother, and the earth that we live on is our mother. Like, no matter where you are, you should never feel alone because your mom's right there with you, always. And then when that sun rises in the east, your grandfather's right there. Before you go to sleep, that moon comes up, your grandmother's right there. Your family's always holding you. And no matter how many barriers people put up and some elders tell you or some adults tell you that you can't do something, you can go out there right now, take off your shoes, and go to your mother. Talk to her. She'll give you all the answers that you need. If you need to talk to your grandfather, because now in my life, I don't have a grandfather. Both of my grandfathers passed away. I only have my kukum now. And I hold her very dear to me. But my mushums, they're not around. My abuelito, he's not around. And they were from the stories that I heard, is the way that they would tell stories were like a journey. They could make anyone laugh. Like, I know that there's one memory that people always say is, your mushroom's tea was so strong that when he would put a spoon in, it would just stay standing. Because that's how much of that he would have in there. It was so strong. And you know, it's just little things like that. Like, the last memory I have of my mushroom is on his deathbed. You know, he was there, and I just remember him hugging me and holding me, but I always remember that, you know, that oxygen tube in his nose. And, you know, it was from cigarettes that he died of cancer. And there was this book I found. There was this beautiful book, and I didn't know that my mushroom was gonna be in it. And then we opened it up, and I was like, hey, that's my mushroom. That's George Cahuan. I was like, and then you could hear him, because the interview that they had, they wrote it just how he said it, the interview. And it was like hearing him all over again, but then it stopped because they were at a conference, an elders conference, and he was being called up to talk on a panel. And I was like, no, Mushroom, you know, keep talking, I want to hear more. But those are the barriers, is we don't get to hear all these stories from all over, and I miss that. And that's like, that also impacts my wellness, is I miss them so much, and I don't get to hear their stories because their stories teach me stuff. So I adopt a lot of people into my life as my cookums, my mushrooms, my aunties, my uncles. You know, it wasn't just my parents that raised me, it was like communities that raised me. You know, I have people sitting in the audience that have played an important part in my life. And growing up, it really does take a community to raise a child. You know, even if you have one parent, two parents, it's hard to take care of your child. You need that community. You need your grandmothers, you need your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, your friends, your best friends. You need them to help raise that child. So if you see someone, a single mother, a single father, even a two-parent household, help them with that baby. Help them, give them what they need, because it takes a lot to raise up that child. And it took all of like Turtle Island to raise me, because each person in each community that I went to, they would hold me. They would share something with me. And not everyone gets that opportunity. So if you see a little niece that you connect with, and she may not be blood, connect with them. Make a relationship with them. Help them break down any barriers that other people built up for them. So, hi.
How are we doing for time? Oh, yeah, sure, really quick story. For me, exactly what you're saying, Beanie, is community was like a lifesaver for me. And all those opportunities that I had were because of community. Finding those things that changed my life was because of community. And I'm not originally from Algonquin territory, but I say that that's my home away from home. And and community to me is family. You know, it's our chosen family. And I'm always so grateful of the community that we've been able to create in Ottawa. It's a really, really beautiful thing. And we take care of each other, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's like 3 a.m. or, you know, early in the morning or late at night. We're always there for each other, and we treat each other like aunties and uncles and aunties. Have you heard that one? No. Auntie, auntie's like a two-spirit one for aunties and uncles, or the other one is ankle, but it doesn't sound as cool. So we've become like that. So we've become like that for those younger ones, and they're like our nieces and nephews. And I don't know if there's a two-spirit term for nieces and nephews yet. Anyways, we'll get there. But you know, we take care of them like that, and I think for the older youth in our group, we kind of take on those roles of like protectors. And so you'll even see it in our logo. We have those 2 big trees, and one of them is the white pine and the balsam fir. So if you ever take time to look around this territory, Most of Ontario and Quebec, those are the two biggest trees you'll find. That white pine especially is really like those aunties, I think. And so that white pine is often always there to guide your way, and often has those really soft, I want to say petals, soft needles, yeah, those soft pine needles. And so even though those aunties are there, and they're really, really strong, they're also really, really gentle. And they're there to welcome you with open arms and not be judgmental of what you're going through, but just to be there for you. And because of those people in my life, I recently experienced a really, really tough time. And I experienced a really hard betrayal. And I think betrayal in my life was one of the hardest things to experience. It's a breaking of trust, of people that you've been vulnerable with, of people that you thought were your family. And it really, really hurt me. And I think that all those things that happened to me in my life brought me to that point, so that I now had the coping mechanisms and skills to deal with that thing that just happened. And so I had those beautiful people in my life, those beautiful people that sometimes they didn't know exactly what had happened, but they knew that they were going to be there for me. They knew that they were going to laugh with me, that they were going to eat with me, they were going to sing some songs with me. And sometimes you don't have to say everything. It's just there, and it gets taken care of. And some of the coping mechanisms that I learned and that I think are so important to pass on. So I'm a true believer in reciprocity, that I don't believe that you should just take without giving back. And so all of those things that have helped me in my life, all of those ceremonies, we give back to young people now. So in Ottawa, we do a monthly sweat. Sweat lodge is something that's been very, very important in my life. We also learn how to build sweat lodges, the importance of those grandfathers, because I never grew up with any grandfathers, but I get to see them still. And we also just started full moon ceremonies, to connect back to those grandmothers. And we also do annual round dance. Round dance is so important to remember our loved ones that have passed on. And we also just did an elders and youth gathering, because it was really those knowledge keepers that helped me find those ceremonies, right? And so I always try my best to create those situations again for other young people. So that's like a lot of the work we've been doing. And then I've also learned a few other coping mechanisms. And so when I experienced those really traumatic things recently, I had all these amazing people in my life. I had all these tools that I could use. And one of them was actually getting tattoos and piercings. And so people might be like, oh, weird, or ew, or whatever comes into your mind. But those ways of experiencing pain and a release of pain, that's in our ceremonies. So our ceremonies is a struggle. It's not supposed to be easy. Our ceremonies make us struggle. Fasting is so hard. You have to struggle. And getting through those struggles is what helps build us. And so I was doing, I got a few piercings that I'm still taking care of. And I got this nose piercing recently. And I got a bumblebee tattoo, because I love those bumblebees. And that's just one of the many ways that I've gotten through things. And we'll still keep giving back to community, always. And so I'm so happy that Humber brought us all here. So there's like 9 of us here from Ottawa that are from A7G, and that's passing on those opportunities, So miigwech chai hai.
Miigwech, everyone, for being here. I wanted to thank you all for sharing like tips and making it more acceptable that like it's okay that if we're all starting our wellness journeys. And I just wanted to say thank you again. It's been so great having the Wellness Starting Five here. So if we all can give them a round of applause. I know that we will have to cut the question and answer period out of it, but I will, if you follow us on social media, you can tweet us a question you have for them, and then I'll connect with them, or you can, I'm gonna put if they give me permission, I'll take a picture and put it on our Instagram story, and then you can find them through social media to DM them. But right now we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. Remember that we do have the comedy show tonight at 7. It will have, if you've been watching CBC, you'll know that one of the Humber former students has been a star in Tall Boys to Men. He'll be here tonight. And for anybody who came on the bus, your bus is here and it's ready to go at 4:40. But thank you again, everybody. This has been a great day, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. Also, as you got the check-in shuttle bus schedule, it will be coming back here later tonight for the show.